Hello, folks. This is Paul Larkin here. Just putting out another wee reading of my new book, which is entitled "By Any Means Necessary: Journeys with Celtic Bampots." The purpose of this reading is for you to hear my dulcet tones and then think, "Oh, that sounds a fantastic book. I'll rush out on Halloween and buy that." Although you didn't need to rush out because it's available online. But to set the tone for the chapter is based in about July 2011, and it's entitled 1989 Another Summer. And subquote from it is, "Most of my heroes don't appear on no stamp," by Public Enemy. And it's a small chapter deliberately designed to entice you to buy the book. So here we go. After From Albert with Love, I had no real plans to write another book. Then I had a thought. One of the things that had inspired me whilst writing was watching and listening to the Tie Tims videos. I won't patronise you, you know who the Tie Tims are, but I thought I could do something to maybe get a bit of money for them. Of course, what would that be? I had no clue. It was the summer and I sought inspiration. Fuck it. I put the blogs together and released them as a book, Doogie Doogie, and charged a fiver for them. All proceeds would go to the Tie Tims. This meant about $3 a book, so I was quite chuffed to be able to hand over just over $500 for a book of stuff that folk could read for nothing if they really put their mind to it. It should have been $700 though. I added bits, of course, but it was generally just previously published blogs. It came out and sales were steady, but then disaster struck. As books started falling through doors, folk were getting in touch to say there was Thai writing all over them. Scrawled but printed. I had no fucking idea what was going on. After contacting the publisher, the full story had came out, and it was very sad. Basically, the PDF of the book was hacked, and the people who did it put stuff about child abuse and Thai writing all over it. I had no idea to this day how it happened, and I've never had any bother since, but it meant replacing of about 50 books, and times were very tight at the time for me with a new house and all, so apologies to the Tie Tims, it should have been more. I was actually asked to write the story of the Tie Tims not long after that. Got a good 10,000 words down, but as you'll have noticed since, Celtic got involved, and there was no way they were ever going to entertain a cunt like me doing a book when they have a series of fabulous writers on the payroll. Anyway. I don't think any book is going to be published at all now, which is a real shame, but if it does or it doesn't, I wish Paul Lennon and all the Tie Tims the very best for now and for the future. Doogie Doogie was never going to outsell the Da Vinci Code, and if I'm honest, it's my least favourite book, but people still ask me about it a lot, and I know a lot of the anger I poured into those blogs really resonates with people till this day. At the same time all this was going on, Frankie Fraser asked me to play football at Sunnyside Park in Queens one July Saturday. I say 1 July Saturday, it was the one in the movie Do the Right Thing, judging by the heat. Now, those of you who have seen Frankie and I will know, Bolton Blake we ain't. We felt that too when we lined up, me sweating before the game had even started, and Frankie wearing knee pads for protection for his aging knees. The opposition were looking at us like circus freaks. Game kicks off, ball breaks to Frankie in the centre-half position. He looks up, I run, he floats an inch perfect pass right over the head of the opposing centre-half. It comes down, I volley it first time, in off the post, boom, 1-0. I could say now that Brazil 70 sprang to mind, but this play was a quality way above that. In fact, when I backheeled the winning goal that day, let me repeat that. When I backheeled the winning goal that day, some people say they had seen nothing like it since Pele was at the Cosmos. Being the shy, retiring types, Frankie and I made little of it. Frankie politely commenting to the opposition, "Think this is good? You should have seen us play basketball last week. We were like the Boston fucking Celtics." After the game, a few spliffs and a few burgers, and all was well with the world. Something had to go wrong, right? So that's just a wee sample there. It was just pretty much determined, just a wee punchy 10-minute bit about, first of all, reading for the book and that, because this book is probably the hardest book I've ever had to describe what it's about, simply because there are so many different things involved in it, from cheating referees to my life being turned upside down, to my struggle with mental health issues, to the rise of internet bampots, from the famine song to Dallas Gate to the end of Rangers and the beginning of Sevco and all that kind of thing. There's a kind of myriad of different subjects. We've also got some fantastic pieces in it about Twitter and kind of social media for guys like Sean Walsh and Mark McClay, who are kind of on the ball with that sort of stuff. And there's also, of course, being a bookie mine, there's also like tons of sort of graphically adult stories involving sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and getting myself into bizarre situations, which seems to be my kind of forte. And so the book runs at about 406 pages. It's going to cost about $14.99, I think, which I do think it is worth it because they're added to all of that, and there's still tons more as well in that. There's also another story at the end of the book called Projecting Paddy McCourt, which is like the sort of part two of Channeling Charlie Mulgrew, and that's been fully illustrated by Josh Gaffney again. 6 illustrations in there. And that's, if Channeling Charlie Mulgrew was about, my kind of apprehensions about writing books again, then Paddy McCourt is about ego. Projecting Paddy McCourt is about ego. It's about what happens if, you start to believe everything that people tell you, and then, you just think, oh, I'm a master of the universe. And, what kind of situations could you get in a kind of Celtic world, that would, because you had a super inflated ego. And so that's really the usual kind of nonsense and stuff, and obviously people get fun poked at them and stuff, but as they say, imitation is the most serious form of flattery. But of course, the real kind of message about the book is about the fan power, and it's about how, the Celtic supporters just mindset changed, from years of being browbeaten down by media and an establishment and all that kind of thing. There was a kind of enough is enough moment. And, I hope to kind of take that on, because we've also got a huge chapter towards the end of the book about the death of the Rangers, with fantastic writers like James Forrest for Celtic Quick News and Brogan Rogan Trevino, who I'm sure you've seen, great Celtic supporters and great writers, and they've put their take on it. And we've also got an outsider's take, somebody who isn't a Celtic supporter, on what it meant for their club and for Scottish football in general and stuff like that. And as I say, the proceeds are split between, not all, sorry, I shouldn't say all, because it's not all, it's 10% of each are going to the Hillsborough Justice Campaign, which is really important to me personally, because, whether we like it or not, that was 96 people were effectively murdered that day, and they were football fans just like you and I, and we could have been the people. And secondly, they were part of one of the biggest establishment cover-ups in history, and we have to fight back against that. And I hope in some small way you can highlight that and contribute to it. And the other thing is for Celtic Graves, which is, something that's close to all Celtic supporters' hearts. And then we also have, so we'll concentrate a raffle on the Hillsborough campaign, and we'll concentrate a buffet, which is going to be run by Stephen Monahan at the book launch, which will mean that there'll be a fantastic buffet for you to eat, and you'll contribute a few pounds, and Celtic Graves will just get that money, boom. And that takes me nicely on to the book launch, which is on November the 24th in the Celtic Supporters Association in Glasgow, and it starts at 5 p.m. Come along, meet and greet. I will be speaking about it, and I'll be doing a Q&A for about an hour and a half or so, and telling stories and stuff like that. And then we'll have a raffle, as I said, and then we'll take the roof off the place with Paul and Chris from the Wakes. So hopefully, I'd like to see as many as along there as possible. Come along and meet myself and talk to me and abuse me or whatever you want today. The homeboys will be there, everybody will be there, all the bandpots will be there, Chris McGuigan, all the bandpots for all over the place who made this thing happen in the first place, will be there. So come along and meet them and, have a great time. It's free entry. We need to cap the numbers at about 200. You'll get a buffet. It's cheap drink. There's a band laid on for you. And if you're buying your books before then, because the book comes out on Halloween, bring it along. We'll sign it, write anything you like on it, and we'll just have if the last 2 book launches in Scotland are anything to go by, this will be fantastic, and it will hopefully be the biggest and best. So hopefully you enjoyed the wee bit of the chapter. I'll probably put another one out just before the release date. Release date is of course Halloween, famous for zombies. And the book launch is November 24th, and I hope to see as many along there as possible. Cheers and hail hail.